Okay guys, so we are in the city of David. We were here yesterday when it was all quiet and there was no people. Now it's open, so you can see the difference. So I actually bought a ticket and we're gonna go through the tunnels. We're not gonna do the let me show you the map. There are two tunnels here. One tunnel is a wet tunnel that goes up to the Pool of Siloam, and the other tunnel is a dry tunnel, which is an older tunnel. It's a old Canaanite tunnel. So you enter through here, and we were there yesterday, but today we'll do an extra. We'll do the tunnel and we'll go all the way to the Pool of Siloam. Enjoy. Thanks. So, I'm not gonna spend much time here. This is the large structure, which some believe was perhaps the Palace of David, or before that, the Fortress of Zion. You see the column. Here is my law that I discussed yesterday, so I'll leave a link to this video where I talk more in detail about those things in the description.
Very weird act of Jeremiah. Jeremiah, before Jerusalem, it's like just about to destroy.
So again, from this view you can see the Milo. We were upstairs, now we're here, and this is the way to the tunnels. So you can see two signs. One is for the wet tunnel and one is for the dry tunnel. The dry tunnel is the Canaanite tunnel, the older one. So these tunnels are remarkable because they really again prove that the Bible is true. Before those tunnels were discovered, before the city of David was discovered, people didn't know really what are those stories in the Bible talking about when David tells Joab to take the city of David, and there is even a specific word used in the Bible for a tunnel, for a pipe. And before we found those tunnels, people were wondering, what is this talking about? What is this pipe that the Bible speaks about? And when we found the tunnels, we understood that the Canaanites had tunnels going down to the city, and over there they were taking the water from the Gihon spring, and possibly this is the way that Joab entered the city, and once he was there he was able to get the rest of the army in. So it's an incredible story of how even the smallest details in the Bible are very important to pay attention to.
The spring is underneath this tower. And what they did is they protected the spring where it starts, and they made a little tunnel for it to go into a pool that they built next to it. Okay, so there, you see two buildings here. So the big tower is where the spring is underneath, and the one next to it is where they built the pool, so it would be easier for a lot of people to come and take their water at the same time.
Okay, so now we're gonna go down to where the tunnels are. So I had to buy a ticket to get actually here, but it's okay. I like seeing these things too, and for you, I can do it. So here's a story of how those tunnels were found. They were found by Captain Charles Warren. He was not allowed to dig in the Temple Mount area, so he started walking here in the KIDRON Valley, and he felt water. That water is coming out from somewhere. So he started digging, and he found a whole network of tunnels. So here are some historical pictures showing this. Here is a picture of Milo, how it looked in the early days. And we are now in the most ancient part of Jerusalem. This is where history in Jerusalem began. Why did it begin here and not, for example, where modern Jerusalem is today? Because here was the Gihon Spring. So you can see the tunnels now already. We are entering something very ancient. It's a little bit like Indiana Jones kind of story, you know, those discovery of those tunnels, a secret passage, and David, his story with Joab, you know, it's amazing. And then of course the story of Hezekiah, where he built another tunnel to direct the water, because the water was going outside the city of David. So he directed the water to the Pool of Siloam, where it was protected by walls. So I'm glad that not a lot of people are here, so I can talk freely to you. And you see, on the floor, you can already feel water. So you can do the wet tunnel also. I will do the dry one, but the wet tunnel you can do, and just make sure you have walls, you have shoes that you are not afraid to get wet. So now we are next to a big, large cistern, a pool. This is where the water was gathered from. So the people were going through the tunnels and then gathering the water in a large pool where the water was accumulating from the Gihon spring. And what is connected with this is probably where the crowning of King Solomon happened. So we actually have a picture here where you can see Prophet Nathan crowning King Solomon, and this is an information where it reads in 1 Kings 1, and cause Solomon my son to ride upon mine own mule, and bring him down to Gihon, and let Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him there king over Israel. So this is a really ancient place. This is something very old, and the anointing of Solomon happened here. He became the king of Israel. You remember that story when there was a fight between him and Adoniah had a separate party going on. He wanted to become king. He gathered a coalition against Solomon. But then, in a moment when the trumpet was blown, the shofar, everybody who was around Adoniah scattered and escaped. And this will be the same when the Messiah will come. In one moment, everybody will know who the king is, who is the victor. So you can see some massive stones over here. And later on there was a tower built that protected this Gihon spring. The Asian people knew that this needs to be protected. So this is a tower that was here. I was going down, the walls were going down to this place and protecting this ancient pool of water. Because the Gihon spring is not like coming from the top of the mountain, it's coming from beneath. That's why you needed some engineering to be done. And look at those stones, how big they are. In the ancient times, they already were incredible engineers. So here you can see a picture of how it looked. So this is where we would be, and a tower. This is this tower that protected this pool over here. So there is a presentation you can do here. Let's see if it's gonna show. Because it's quite, you can visualize the tower button for this, how it looked. Okay, so the screen is going down. So this gives you an idea of how it looked. But let's go. So I will show you something interesting also over here. So once again, you see the big stones go all the way down here and over there. So, but there is a nice model I want to show you. It's over here, which will also help you visualize what are we looking at. So I think it's here. No. Okay, so this is the room, but fortunately the projection is not working. So that's why it's closed. This is a back entry to this place. Okay, never mind. I have models of my own, which you can check out on the channel when I show, where I also show this history and how it looked. So now we're gonna go to the tunnel, ancient Canaanite tunnel, and I will actually go up to the wet one to show you the water. This tunnel goes all the way to the Pool of Siloam. So you go there. Let me put a flashlight. We go all the way there to this tunnel. This is where it starts. But we're gonna do the dry one today. This is the Canaanite tunnel, the dry tunnel, and this is the Hezekiah tunnel, the wet tunnel. So this tunnel is nice because you don't need a flashlight. There is artificial light here. So imagine discovering this as the first time after so many years you were uncovering this tunnel. How exciting, how scary. You didn't know what you would find. It's really narrow here. And this tunnel is a little bit wet too, as you can see. So put some wood on the bottom for you to see and to walk, not making your shoes wet. This tunnel is much shorter than the Hezekiah tunnel, so we are almost at the end of the tunnel and we see light. We see a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm sorry, I had to say this. And this is where the tunnel ends. And you get out next to the KIDRON Valley. Okay, so it was quite a journey. I hope you enjoyed it. This is where you get out. It looks very dirty. This is the Arab neighborhood, the Sylvan. So I was telling you about it. It looks like a slums. And fortunately, this is how they deal with trash. This side is much cleaner, taken care of. This side, not so much. So this map shows you where we are. We are here. We exited through the tunnel. This is the journey we took, the dry tunnel, and then if you would take the Hezekiah tunnel, it's much longer because it goes down to the end where the Pool of Siloam is. This is where we're gonna go, but we're gonna go with a dry feet. So, a very old olive tree here.
Think of this, guys. Originally, the tunnel you walked through was what? Had water. And David came.
So this is the city of David over here. So you could see how there was a secret entrance to this city that was hidden, that you could go through. And this is how Joab was able to get in. They were so proud of themselves. They said that even blind and crippled will protect the city, because the city was well protected. It's on a hill, it's on a ridge, and there's water in it, so they have everything they need. But this wasn't the case. There was a secret entrance to the tunnel. So there are also some excavations done here. There are some walls from different time periods, from the time of Maccabeans, also the Greek were constructing here. So here is like a machine showing you how they would move the stones. See, an ancient crane. They have constructed something to show you how they do it. So again, you see there is a mosaic here, like everywhere in Jerusalem. You have stones of different periods, and many civilizations use the same stones, just reused them. So, but original walls of the city of David were also here, and the big tower you saw, this is original. This is the most ancient thing. And to finish the story with David, there were found ancient burial sites on top of this hill. You see, like the black sticking out, the black material. There were found burial sites over there, and it is most likely that David would be buried here in the city of David, rather than on Mount Zion, the so-called Mount Zion, or perhaps he was buried on Mount of Olives, so somewhere here, because those houses are also built on ancient burial sites. So Of course, they are now in a territory where Arab people live, so it's not that easy to visit them. But it's true, like at the bottom of those houses there are burial sites that are very ancient, and this is more likely where David would be buried. So this is where basically the tunnel tour is leading to the Pool of Siloam. So you see the Siloam pool. So this is the entrance. Okay guys, so we are in a very special place. This is the Pool of Siloam, and it's exciting to be here right now because there's an active excavation going on here. So if you would visit this place a few years ago, I mean even a few months ago, then you would see a big hill over here that was covering all this area, and that was because it was a private property and it was not allowed to build here. But now this property has been bought by the Ir David Foundation, so the City of David Foundation, and they are able to excavate all these things. So this whole place will be, after the excavation is done, after the search is done, it will be transformed into an actual pool. So you can see a visualization of it, how it will look. So you see a huge scarp over here, rock scarp. This is what this is, and this is like the pool. So there's gonna be a pool here. Of course, this is the ancient pool that was built here by Hezekiah. He directed the water from the Gihon spring to the Pool of Siloam to protect the water. But also you have biblical histories from the New Testament that happened here. For example, the healing of the blind. He was to wash his eyes with the water from this pool. So those might be the same stones that Jesus walked on. So this is very, very exciting, and it was a gigantic pool because this is what was uncovered. You see the steps over here. Those are the ancient stones, and this is just one part of the pool which went way over there. And what they are also planning is they are planning to build a special pilgrim road, because they found the original pilgrim road that will lead, as it was in the times of Jesus, from the pool to the Temple Mount. So an amazing discovery over here, and still many exciting things will happen. So once again, this is the city of David. This is the Pool of Siloam. This is the Pilgrim Road, and this is the Temple Mount. So here once again the pool and the active work on it. It's gonna be a big place. I will I will go with you also to where the Hezekiah tunnel ends. So I just wanted to show you this, because this is a new thing that is happening right now. So here is where the Pilgrim's Road will begin. You can see. Let me change the camera because this is flickering. So this is like a reconstruction of how it could look like. You would go from the Pool of Siloam from over there, and you would walk up this ancient pilgrim road. This road is not open yet, but we can walk a little bit here. And on the sides you would have different shops as you would walk to the Temple Mount. So you can kind of imagine how it looked. And they found the ancient stones of this road leading to the Temple Mount. So again, it's another proof where the temple was located. Why there was a road going to the Temple Mount if there was no temple over there. So this is where it ends. This is how it will perhaps look in the future. So you are basically touching very ancient history here in Jerusalem. So here I have a shop and the ancient stones. I think it's censored because it starts talking when I come here. Anyway, so this is the ancient pilgrim road leading up to the Temple Mount. See the visualization of it over here. I'm going from the Pool of Siloam. We'll go to the Temple Mount. And this is where the miracle happened of the blind person. He washed his eyes in the water and he saw. But he not only saw physically, he also saw spiritually. His life was changed because he met with the Messiah. So here's a view from the top on the Pool of Siloam, and it's interesting story because they found this pool by accident. They were doing some construction here, a pipe broke, and then they found it. And now again, this new land was purchased, so more excavations can be found. So it's exciting to think what they will find. So the last thing I want to show you here is where the water comes out of from the Hezekiah pool. So this is where the pool ends, and you have actually children that are swimming in this pool. So this is where the Hezekiah tunnel ends and where you get out from the wet tunnel. So now we're gonna end this detour and go to the Garden of Gethsemane, but we're gonna walk through the KIDRON Valley. So a long walk ahead of me.
There will be a certain period, a certain time, when he's going to complete his mission, and until he completes it, something.
So last look at the Pool of Siloam. This is where you would step down and go into this ancient pool of water. So now we are standing on the ancient stones. Perhaps even the Messiah touched. How incredible is this? That's Jerusalem. History, Bible, archaeology, culture, everything. The City of David is one of Israel's most popular tourist attractions. Thousands of people visit this place each year and travel in time to explore the legendary settlement conquered by King David. I visited the city many times, and it is wonderful to see how archaeologists each year find new artifacts in this unique place. However, one question remains unanswered. How exactly did King David conquer the Jebusite city and make it the capital of Israel? Can we even know that? Does the Bible give us any clues? Does archaeology give us some answers? I will try to answer all those questions for you today. But before we will do that, I want to thank you for joining my channel. Some of you may have noticed that my activity on the channel was limited during June, July and August. This is because I got involved in helping out with the refugee crisis in Poland and did not have much time. I hope to have more time in September and produce more videos for you to watch, so expect great content shortly. I also kindly ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not done yet. Also, thank you so much for supporting the channel that helps me to provide you with quality material I will use in my episodes. But now, let us get back to our today's topic. Before we will discuss the very conquest by David, I would like to mention a few things that may not be so obvious about the City of David. You see, if you travel to the times when the Ottoman Empire ruled the lands that now belong to Israel, and you would mention the City of David, no one would know what are you talking about. The city of David in the Ottoman times was covered entirely with land on which potatoes were grown. Here you can see some historical photos showing you the place that today is identified as the city of David. Now, compare it with modern images of this place. But that's not all. If we travel even further in time to the Crusaders and when the European knights came to the Holy Land, the confusion becomes even more remarkable. And that is because after the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70 when they destroyed the temple, and after the Bar Kokhba revolt in 136 AD, when the Romans exiled the Jewish people, Emperor Hadrian redesigned Jerusalem to become a pagan city. The memory of many historical sites were then lost. So, when the Crusaders conquered Jerusalem from the Muslims, they began naming historical sites based on their limited knowledge of the topography of Jerusalem. And unfortunately, the Crusaders did not do an excellent job of that. One of their mistakes we can observe today in Jerusalem. When you visit Jerusalem, you may be confused about why the so-called Tower of David is located next to the Jaffa Gate in the old city of Jerusalem. You may also be confused about why the traditional grave of David is located next to the Zion Gate. Logically, both places should be in the city of David and not on the western hill where the today's old city of Jerusalem is located. David would not build a tower on a hill where in his times there was no settlement. Of course, this what is called the Tower of David has no historical connection to King David, but that's another topic. David would also not be buried so far from his city. In fact, historical graves are either on the Mount of Olives or on the slopes of the city of David. And it is here where probably David would be buried. So what's that all about? Well, when the Crusaders came to Jerusalem, they looked at the mountains all around them. They saw that the western hill was fortified and decided that this must be the original Zion, meaning the city of David. The problem with that interpretation is that if we remember history, after the Bar Kokhba revolt, Hadrian totally reorganized the city and moved the life of the city away from the historical Jewish sites, such as the Temple Mount and the city of David. Following civilizations like the Muslims built on that and never returned to the original structure of the city. But the Western Hill, despite the fact that it is much more extensive and higher than the Eastern Hill, it did not have what was essential for the establishment of a settlement in those times. The Western Hill did not have access to water, while the Eastern Hill had it plenty thanks to the Gihon Spring. The Gihon Spring was the reason why the Jebusites built their city on the Eastern Hill and why David wanted to conquer this settlement. The repercussions of this mistake made by the Crusaders can be seen today. Just type in Zion in the Google search. You will find not the city of David, but the highest point of the Western Hill next to the Zion Gate. Today, understanding the topography much better, we can say Zion is in the city of David, or perhaps Mount Moriah, not the Western Hill. But as you may know yourself, tradition sometimes is more potent than the truth. Tradition! And that's why when you will visit David's tomb on the so-called Mount Zion, you will see Jewish people praying at the site that probably has nothing to do with David. By the way, Christians also gather there to remember the Last Supper, and most likely the Last Supper did not happen there. But that's a topic for another episode. So, to sum up, Before the 19th century, the location of the city of David was a mystery. The situation changed when General Charles Warren, on the orders of Queen Victoria of England, reached Jerusalem to start archaeological works and discovered new information about ancient Jerusalem. Warren, while hiking in the KIDRON Valley and washing his face in a stream, starts to wonder where the water source is coming from. He quickly discovers a complex of tunnels under the hill, a testimony of ancient civilization. This discovery was the first step in uncovering the actual location of the city of David. Can you imagine how Warren must have felt when he found the tunnels that were buried for thousands of years? How did he feel when he found the Gihon spring and its life-giving water? The stones that Warren found dated to a civilization that predated David himself. But that was just the first step in uncovering the truth. The second one was Israel's victory in the Six-Day War. People usually don't realize that, but Israel did not have access to the East Jerusalem before the Six-Day War, which happened in 1967. The Jewish people could not even enter the holiest site of their religion, the Temple Mount. When 5 countries attacked Israel, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, in 6 days this tiny nation transformed what could have been their destruction into a miraculous victory. Not only Israel did win the war, but she has gained new territories, including access to the eastern part of Jerusalem. Soon, massive archaeological works began, which fruits we can experience today. Currently, the city of David is a huge archaeological site where you can touch the ancient stones and see how Bible comes to life. But we still did not answer the question, how did David conquer this ancient settlement? First of all, let us ask this question. Why did David want to capture the city? He was already king residing in Hebron. Did he need the Jebusite city? Of course, the Jews could find ties to this place historically. The great ancestor Abraham was present here even before Jebus was established. Abraham was blessed in Salem by Melchizedek. And Psalm 76:2 connects Salem to Jerusalem. We read there, "In Salem also is his tabernacle and his dwelling place in Zion." And in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 12, when Israel was in the wilderness, God commands the 12 tribes to take the land that will be given to them and clean it from foreign pagan worship centers. Additionally, we read that God will show them a place that will be the center of worship for the whole Israel. In Deuteronomy 12:26 we read, "All sacrifices and offerings to the Lord must be taken to the place where he chooses to be worshipped." When David became the king over Israel, no such place was yet selected. Up to this point, places of worship were organized in various locations. So, there certainly was a need for a centralized place of worship that could unite all the 12 tribes of Israel. The question was where such a place should be located. The biblical story informs us that David decides that Jebus should be this place and the new capital of Israel. It could have been a divine filling of the Spirit of God that led David to this location, but it also could have been a more pragmatic reason. You see, if you look at the division of the land between the 12 tribes, Jebus was located between the land given to the tribe of Benjamin and Judah. In other words, it was a no man's land. Perhaps David chose this city not to cause jealousy of the different tribes, that on their land was the capital. Or maybe he decided it because it was close to the tribe of Judah which was prophesied as the Messianic tribe, or maybe all of those reasons I mentioned before. Having discussed the background of the city of David, we can now try to answer the big question of this episode. How did David conquer the city of Jebus? First of all, we must realize it was not an easy task. Jebus, by that time, was a well-fortified city with massive walls built on a steep slope. Archaeologists found massive stones from the original settlement that formed a protective tower guarding the Gihon Spring. If we look at the topography around the city of David, we will discover it was located at an elevation with valleys on both sides. And let us remember that David was not in charge of a massive empire with colossal siege weapons that could crush these walls. He probably had a small army consisting of hundreds and not thousands of soldiers. So how did he do it? Does the Bible give us any clues? Perhaps the hint is in one of the words that the Bible uses when describing David's conquest. In the English New American Standard Version we read, "And David said on that day, whoever strikes the Jebusites is to reach those who limp and those who are blind, who are hated by David's soul, through the water tunnel." The text key word is bat zinor, which appears only once in the entire Bible and means tunnel, canal, or pipe. As mentioned before, such tunnels have been found by Charles Warren in the city of David. Today you can walk yourself through those tunnels. The most popular is of course the Hezekiah tunnel, where you can feel the water from the Gihon Spring and walk to the Pool of Siloam on the bottom of the city of David. But there are also other tunnels that are much older and date to the Canaanite times when the hill was settled by Jebusites. The Jebusites built a net of channels that served multiple functions. One of the functions was to enter the location of the Gihon Spring from the city of David. Other channels led outside the city of David, behind the enormous walls fortifying the town. Comparing this evidence to the biblical text, we can create the following scenario. When David sees the mighty walls, he knows that capturing the city will require special tactics. Perhaps by getting information from his spies, David learns about a secret passage to the city leading through one of the water tunnels. Joab volunteers for this dangerous mission and decides to break into the city using one of the entrances at the mountain foot. The biblical text shows that the tricky tactic was successful. Joab gets into the city and probably opens the gates to the city, resulting in a great victory of David. David builds a palace for himself in a place of the Zion fortress and additional protective walls. Today, at the palace site on the so-called Milo, archaeologists have found fragments of the columns from David times and the robust foundations of a large building. David Palace could have been created on the supportive structure, sometimes called the Pyramid of Jerusalem, from top of which David could observe his subjects. From this point and forward, the city of David becomes the heart of the Jewish people. Today, we can enjoy and discover this beautiful place once again. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this episode. What do you think? Is this scenario that I presented valuable to your understanding of the biblical history? Or perhaps you think that David conquered the city in a different way? Let me know. Also, please don't forget to like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. This really helps me and encourages the YouTube algorithm to share the video with more people. Also, if you think that my work is valuable, please consider supporting the channel. You can do this through joining the channel by clicking join on the main channel page or through the Patreon link located here. Have a great day and see you soon.